In the city of Jiang, in a gloomy crematorium, a grave silence reigns, violated only by the rustle of wind among the tombstones. A mysterious person lights a candle and pronounces the words, as if escorting the soul to another world. The flame of the candle suddenly goes out, and the figure lying nearby begins to show signs of strange activity. The dead man's hand turns blue, and he begins to come to life, which does not cause concern among the accompanying person. The young guy, remaining calm, presses the body back and says that the dead man still rebel. He says that the spirit will be able to degenerate after 18 years and completes the ritual of cremation. The fiery flame rapidly covers the entire room of the crematorium, ruthlessly absorbing the remains of the body and completing the ancient rite of wires into a different world. The guy tiredly wipes sweat from his forehead and exhales in relief, realizing that the ritual was completed, and everything went exactly as it was conceived from the very beginning. Not having time to take a break, he hears a sharp shout, mercilessly returning to reality, and reminiscent that there are still dozens of bodies for cremation ahead. The old man, lounging in a rocking chair and eating a watermelon, with a lazy mockery watches the work of the young man, without even thinking of offering at least some help. After 3 hours, the guy, with obvious relief, says that he completed the work and is interested when there will be dinner. The old man, with a satisfied expression on his face, brings a portion of food, proud that everything went successfully and now you can enjoy the result of work. The guy is surprised to examine the stewed pork on the dish, not believing his eyes and surprised at its appearance, which clearly corresponds to his expectations. He expresses admiration for a delicious kind of food, surprised at its perfect species and confirming that it was a real stew as he expected. Thinking, the young man wonders about the quality of food, surprised at her strange taste, which does not correspond to his expectations from such a dish. The old man, with a smile, watching the young men, jokes that the path has not yet been completed, to which the guy is surprised to ask where he should go further. The guy in bewilderment asks a question, not understanding why his working day is not yet completed, surprised that there is still a lot of work ahead. The old man seriously reports that he transferred all his knowledge to the student, summing up their joint path and designating the completion of the last working day of the young man. The teacher confidently informs the student about the need to move to the city of Yu the very next day, causing him by surprise this news. Stunned by a sudden task, the guy is anxiously trying to understand the motives of the old man who is not ready to part with the usual life so abruptly and leave the mentor. The teacher turns to the young man, recalling the tragedy of 7 years ago and urging him again to intervene in the course of fateful events. The guy holds back pain and anger, recalling the past, in which he lost everything that was expensive, and internally prepares to return to the path of revenge and truth. The hero leaned in front of the old man in gratitude over the years of defense and upbringing, swearing to return after he fulfilled his oath for revenge for the fallen family. The mentor entrusts the student with an important mission, to save a person whose fate is connected with the future, recalling that this will be the first step to fulfill the duty and path of the hero. The young man gratitude accepts the mentor's task, expressing determination and respect, thereby confirming the willingness to leave solitude for an important goal. Having left the crematorium, the protagonist arrives in the modern city, where he will begin to start a new chapter of his fate and fulfill the assigned mission. Returning to his hometown for a long time, the hero, with determination and light nostalgia, looks around the familiar streets, preparing for the execution of an important mission. On the day of the 18th anniversary of the protagonist in the city, a mysterious and previously unknown force foreshadowing the upcoming changes and trials unexpectedly awakened. In the midst of the celebration of the 18th birthday, the main character loses all relatives, when an unknown force falls on his family, leaving only the pain of loss. While the glowing sky reflected the tragedy, the attackers with the swords surrounded the mansions, trying to prevent Lu Zhengtian from hiding from retaliation. At the cost of his own life, the father blocked the way to the enemies, giving a chance to the young Xiaofeng to escape from imminent death in the mansion covered by chaos. Locked in the room and covered by despair, the boy knocked on the door, hoping that his father was still alive, while the screams and sounds of a deadly massacre were heard around. An elderly man burst into the room, pulled out a young man out of his arms and took him away, saving from death among chaos and bloodshed. Closed by despair and tears, the boy looked at his father for the last time, who could no longer be saved before he was taken to the darkness of future tests. The shocked young man realized that only the dedication of his parents, who sacrificed themselves and blocked the doors, saved him from imminent death at the hands of the killers. Clutching a bracelet in his hand as a symbol of memory, the young man made a decisive decision to return to his hometown in order to reveal the truth about the death of his parents and take revenge. The hero hit the road in order to first fulfill the teacher's order, before looking for answers and revenge in his hometown. Arriving in the city, the hero becomes a witness to the humiliation of a stranger who is roughly expelled from the house of Chen's family for impudence, making it clear who is the master here. Following the route on the phone, the protagonist confidently goes to the house of the Chen family, in anticipation of the meeting, which can become a turning point in his fate. Go, having noticed a beginner, is surprised at the coincidence of their routes, anticipating that their paths may not be crossed by chance and promise something important. Go, covered in the indifference of the protagonist, flashes with anger, but comes into cold indifference and a confident demand not to interfere. Emergenced by ignore, grabbing the young man by the shoulder, trying to attract attention by force, but he remains cold-blooded and unperturbed, foreshadowing an ambulance. Jen, radiating inner rage, instantly changes in his face and warns the enemy, showing that his patience came to an end and he is ready for response. Go, having felt the crushing pressure from the awakening aura of the guy, recoiled in fear, realizing that he had run into the enemy of a completely different level. Having evaluated the danger, the second bully hastily dragged his partner, deciding that a clash with a guy was a madness that threatens too high. Trying to keep his face in front of the crowd, Warren for a living bully, breaks into the attack, not realizing that he gets involved in battle with the enemy, superior to him by orders of magnitude. The angry crowd of hooligans with weapons in their hands rushes into a fierce attack, combining forces in the hope of suppressing the confidence of the mysterious enemy by the number. The main character remains calm in the face of the attacking crowd, demonstrating the absolute superiority and contempt for the miserable attempts of opponents to harm him. With one powerful movement, Jen threw the attackers away without changing his calm expression, demonstrating the force unattainable for ordinary people. Opponents, stunned by the hero's unimaginable power, were thrown back with such force that their bodies swept through the air like toys in a hurricane. Realizing the scale of the enemy's strength, the leader of the attackers in a panic recoiled back, shocked by the fact that he faces a real master of ancient martial arts. Closed by fear after a short but crushing demonstration of the hero's strength, the gang leader in a panic unfolds and rushes to run, losing the remnants of courage. In the blink of an eye, the main character dissolves in a dazzling outbreak of light, using the ancient technique of movement to overtake the fugitive before he has time to hide. Using the lightning-fast technique of movement, the hero blocked the path of the attacker, instantly facing him and depriving the latter even a chance to escape. The hero instantly intercepted the initiative, applying a lightning stroke with his foot, which paralyzed the enemy and showed the difference in their level of combat skill. Having lost control after the exact blow, the enemy writhed in pain, clutching his damaged leg, realizing his powerlessness before the hero's unexpected power. Broken with pain and fear, go to his knees in front of the hero, begging for mercy and giving out the name of the true customer, hoping to save his life. The cold-blooded and decisive protagonist by force seeks the truth, striking the enemy to find out the personality of the mysterious Joe. Standing behind the attack, broken by pain, the enemy reveals the personality of Zhou Hao, the heir to one of the 5 great clans of the city of Yu, who was an attack by order. Jen, not satisfied with the disclosed information, requires explanation, trying to understand the true goal of the intervention of the representative of the Zhou clan. Under pressure, the main character forces the enemy to reveal the purpose of the attack, finding out that the order was concerned to intercept the doctor from the Chen family. But the motives remain unclear. Realizing the enmity between the families of Chen and Zhou, the hero releases the enemy with a warning, demonstrating confidence and readiness for the upcoming conflict. Having won a crushing victory, Jen watches how the beaten opponents run away in a panic. Realizing the meaninglessness of further resistance, the main character arrives at the right place, a complete unknown, and a stranger meets him, making it clear that the next stage of the path begins here. On the threshold of the building, the young man is greeted by the elegant and confident Chen Jiai, hinting at the importance of their upcoming dialogue and its significance in the development of events. The protagonist with confidence declares his goal to help the patient from the Chen family, thereby revealing as his mission. Surprised by the guy's sudden statement, the young woman is in distrust of his origin. Trying to understand whether the stranger can trust, the young man with a serious look admits that he is not a doctor at all, but an employee of the crematorium. which causes bewilderment and tension in an already strange situation. Upon learning that instead of a doctor, a crematorium was sent to a sick grandfather, an indignant Chen flashes with anger, suspecting an absurd mistake or evil intent. The young man explains with confidence that despite his prestigious work, he studied medicine for years and is able to cure even the most complex ailments. When Su Zhen showed his knowledge, an elderly doctor appreciated his potential, but Chen still chose to trust the authoritative specialist and ignored the young man. The guy, not wanting to miss the chance to prove his competence, insists on the opportunity to show his medical skills despite the distrust of others. Arriving from Jiangnan province, Dr. Van is in a hurry to start treatment, brushing off from the intervention of the young man and insisting on professionalism and effectiveness. The girl, trying to protect the authority of Dr. Van, is inferior and allows Su Zhen to try to prove her skills despite the prejudice of him. Chen Jia reluctantly allows the guy to be present during examination, emphasizing his inferiority as a doctor and forbidding to intervene in the actions of Dr. Van. Disappointed with the restrictions imposed on him, the hero sighs and reluctantly agrees to observe from the side, hiding the growing irritation. In the house of the Chen family, the girl politely escorts Dr. Wang to the room of the elderly patient, demonstrating respect and willingness to entrust the matter to an experienced specialist. The heroine introduces Dr. Van into the room of the sick old man, marked by the beginning of the examination, on which not only the health of the patient, but also the authority of the doctor depends. An elderly man, embraced by anxiety and weakness, hardly opens his eyes, suddenly recognizing one of those present, which arouses deep memories in him. Seeing the man's face, the main character suddenly realizes his personality, and the memories of the past are overwhelmed by his mind, awakening strong emotions. An experienced doctor, examining the patient, discovers an unusual and incomprehensible pulse, which causes him confusion and anxiety for the patient's condition. The worried relative, noticing the confusion of Dr. Wang, loses his composure and asks with anxiety to explain the situation, fearing for the patient's life. An experienced healer, having caught an unstable pulse and chaotic energy of qi, comes to the disappointing conclusion that the patient's vitality is rapidly fading away. Covering in despair, the girl stands at the patient's bed, realizing the powerlessness of medicine before an impending death and not knowing where to look for salvation. Exhausted by anxiety and grief, the granddaughter leaned over the sick grandfather, unable to restrain tears in the face of impending loss and his own helplessness. The old man, exhausted and aware of the approach of the end, hardly finds the strength to console the granddaughter, humbly accepting the inevitability of his own death. The family, covered by despair and fear of the loss, refuses to accept the inevitable, hoping to find the way to save the dying senior member of the clan. In the midst of despair and hopelessness, a young man appears, unexpectedly offering his help, awakening the weak hope of those present. One of the relatives, doubting the intentions of a stranger, in surprise and hopefully clarifies his competence, experiencing an internal conflict between trust and despair. A confident young man with a mysterious past shows the initiative to help a dying old man, offering to check his pulse and inspiring the glimmer of hope others. An elderly patient, barely glancing at the young man who has entered, freezes in horror, since in his appearance he recognizes someone from the past, whom he considered long ago. The old man accepts the young man who has entered for the long-dead heir of the family, but internal confusion tells him that he was a completely different person in front of him. Shocked to the core, an elderly man tries to realize what is happening and asks a question, trying to make sure that he was not the one who he thought first. The young man seems to Su Zheng and restrainedly reports that he arrived on behalf of the teacher to help, finally destroying the old man's illusion of the past. The girl with anxiety offers to trust the young man, hoping that his help will be able to alleviate the condition of the sick old man lying in the bed. One of those present with suspicion interrupts what is happening, expressing distrust of the stranger and casting doubt on his professional affiliation. After a short hitch and doubt, an elderly man, under the pressure of circumstances and others, decides to entrust the health of a loved one to a stranger. The old man, still guarded by a new guest, decides to clarify his origin, asking about the personality of the teacher who sent a young doctor. The young man with confidence calls the name of his teacher, Taos in action, which causes the old man an interest. The old man, covered by excitement and doubt, gradually comes to the conclusion that the same legendary gentleman is really in front of him. Having realized the personality of the young man and penetrated by trust, The old man with excitement and hope asks to inspect him, relying on the skill of the mysterious healer. The doctor, concerned about the strange symptoms of Chen, expresses doubt about the young man's abilities and urgently warns of caution during examination. The son of a patient, Chen, sharing the doctor's doubts, persistently convinces his father not to trust the young healer, considering him not sufficiently experienced for serious diagnostics. Tired of disputes and distrust of others, old Chen resolutely suppresses the discussion, demonstrating the willingness to trust the young doctor despite the doubts of loved ones. The old man, ignoring the warnings and skepticism of the relatives, with confidence extends his hand forward, urging Su Zhenya to proceed with the inspection and take up his treatment. Despite the distrust of others, Su Zhen is with complete confidence for diagnostics, preparing to prove his talent and save the elderly patient. The guy gently puts his fingers to the old man's wrist, examining the pulse with accuracy to determine the cause of the disease and choose the correct treatment. Having analyzed the condition of the old man, the young man discovers a strong accumulation of dark energy in his body, which sheds light on the true reason for the deterioration of health. An elderly doctor leads a young healer to a man lying on a stretcher, whose body is permeated with sinister energy, and asks to find a source of suffering. The young doctor, puzzled by the patient's unusual pulse, admits that he first encounters a similar phenomenon, and turns to the mentor for clarification. The old man explains that the cause of the patient's suffering is the dark energy in the body, and offers to teach the hero an acupuncture, pointing out the importance of points that can exile and save life. The mentor warns that he will show the technique only once, creating stress and demonstrating the needle, in which strength and knowledge are concentrated for the expulsion of darkness. The main character is preparing to apply acupuncture, holding a set of needles in his hands and warning the patient about possible pain. Demonstrating confidence and determination, the guy activates the power of acupuncture, directing the streams of energy through the patient's body in order to expel dark spirits and monsters rooting inside. After activation of acupuncture, powerful energy flows penetrate the patient's body. The process of driving darkness is launched, causing a noticeable purification reaction. Surrounded by radiance and energy flows, the old man plunges into a trance, while the dark forces gradually leave his body under the influence of a powerful therapeutic aura. The demonic essence, bursting out of the depths of the patient's consciousness, began to distort his body, covering it with black energy and enveloping him with a purple flame of rage. Realizing the insidiousness of the incident, the young man with a penetrating gaze realized that the mysterious conspiracy caused the disaster that fell upon Mr. Chen. In a fit of determination, covered by anger and righteous fury, the hero released the destructive technique, directing his strength to crush evil and restoring justice. Darkness completely absorbed the body of the victim, and the ominous purple fire sealed its strength, foreshadowing the rapid awakening of the ancient curse and a large-scale catastrophe. The glowing curse, escaping from the depths of the victim's body, swept it with a violet flame, causing unbearable pain and destroying the last traces of consciousness. Horror and despair covered relatives when they witnessed the terrible transformation of a loved one. Unable to stop the flaring-up tragedy, closed by rage and fear, the man accused the hero of what happened, demanding an immediate detention, despite the complete bewilderment of the latter. An unexpected recovery of the old man was interrupted by a tense conflict when he stood with a smile, and refuting fears about death. The excited granddaughter, not believing his eyes, clarifies his grandfather's condition, but he confidently confirms his complete healing, inspiring hope and relief in the hearts of loved ones. Stunned by the sudden restoration of his father, a man in a panic calls the doctor to confirm the condition, not believing in what is happening and looking for a medical explanation. The doctor in confusion records the striking restoration of the patient, which contradicts medical logic, shocked by an incredible result of treatment. He in amazement states a sharp improvement in the patient's condition, whose body, until recently weakened, suddenly gained vitality and youth. Hearing stunning news about the wonderful restoration of the patient, the son and granddaughter react with shock, unable to believe his ears. An elderly doctor who has recognized the technique used in treatment is surprised to realize that the used art is the legendary 13 needles of the Demon Gate. The young healer with a slight smile is surprised that the senior doctor recognized the ancient technique, hiddenly hoping for the opportunity to discuss it with someone who also owns knowledge. The senior doctor is horrified by the realization that he is facing the heir to forbidden medical equipment, capable of both healing and bringing destruction. The shocked elder of medicine hastily changes the tone, realizing the true personality of Su Zhenyi, and respectfully recognizes his skill, asking for forgiveness for the previous audacity. Su Zhen, showing modesty, refuses the title of the master, paying tribute to the long-term contribution of the family of Dr. Van to the development of medicine. Dr. Van, with respect and excitement, addresses the guy with a personal request, expressing hope for favor and demonstrating sincere respect. The shocked master of Van, recognizing the superiority of Su Zhenyi with a bow, expresses the desire to become his student and comprehend the legendary technique of 13 needles of the demon. The guy gently stops the overly respectful gesture of Dr. Van, showing modesty and emphasizing a friendly attitude. Despite expressed respect, he gives Dr. Van with his own entries on the technique of 13 needles of the demon. Showing a willingness to share his knowledge and experience, Dr. Van Gratitude accepted valuable notes, kneeling in front of the master as a sign of deepest respect and promising to comprehend the transferred teaching with zeal. Su Zhen restrains and with kindness reacts to the reverence of Dr. Van, making it clear that he does not need the title of the master and prefers a simple appeal. The man in amazement reacts to the unexpected appeal of Dr. Van to the young man as a master. Not understanding what he deserves such respect, the granddaughter watches in bewilderment how a respected Dr. Van suddenly accepts the role of a student at Su Zhenyi, which causes her a wave of doubt and surprise. The patient with approval and respect congratulates Su Zhenyi on the adoption of the student, emphasizing his high status and a natural tendency to leadership. A respectfully tuned old man expressed a sincere desire to visit the guy, hoping to strengthen his relationship and demonstrate respect for his status. Su Zhen, striving for solitude and maintaining the secret of his activity, calls the crematorium in the city of Jiang a place of residence, which oddly enough turns out to be true. Hearing that the young man lives in the crematorium, men are confused because such recognition does not fit into the framework of their usual perception. After the recognition of Su Zheng about life in the crematorium, Chen covers his face with his hand, unable to hide the shock and internal confusion from what he heard. The doctor with admiration comments on the duality of the young man, emphasizing his hard work both in the treatment of the living and in the treatment of the dead. Su Zhen calmly informs the patient about the temporary effect of acupuncture, recalling that additional treatment and time will require complete recovery. The guy explains to the elderly man the true cause of his mysterious illness, indicating the presence of dark yin energy. Hiding from the usual diagnosis, an elderly man was surprised to perceive the mention of the dark energy of yin, not understanding its nature and realizing that his condition is associated with something supernatural. The doctor, having realized the threat, recalls ancient treatises in which yin energy is described as evil, causing serious diseases when it enters the human body. The old man in a panic realizes that the development of yin energy can arouse the dark spirit that will break out and cause irreparable damage to the whole family. After the revelation of the destructive power of yin energy, all family members freeze in shock, realizing that their safety is under a serious threat. Closed by fear for the fate of the family, the elder in despair appeals to help, realizing that the life of all 18 relatives depends on the actions of Su Zhenyi. Keeping calm in the face of an impending threat, the young man takes control of the situation and assures the elder that he will find a way to save his family. Su Zhen begins to investigate, assuming that the unraveling of evil that threatens the family can be hidden among things in the bedroom. Entering the bedroom, the guy notices on the cabinet shining objects emanating an aura, which indicates a possible connection between things and an impending misfortune. Su Zhen picks one of the strange luminous vases, feeling residual energy in it, and tries to find out its origin, suspecting the connection with poisoning. One of the men explains that strange vases belong to his father, who is fond of collecting antiques, thereby revealing a possible clue. The main character notices an unusual picture among antique objects, framed by a radiant frame which depicts a mysterious mountain landscape. The landscape picture on the wall attracted his attention. In a simple image of the mountains, he caught hidden energy, as if storing an ancient secret. The owner of the house proudly explained that the landscape picture that interested the guest is the original of the famous master who is especially appreciated by his father. Su Zhen carefully peers into the picture and, having caught in it something unusual, he feels that behind external beauty is a secret that worthy of solidification. Touching the mysterious landscape picture, the guy feels sinister energy, revealing the curse that caused suffering to the owner every day. Upon learning of the curse hidden in the landscape picture, Soo-jin is anxiously trying to find out her origin, suspecting that she could be the key to unraveling. The old man admitted that he acquired a mysterious picture at the auction in Jiangnan from a mysterious seller, not suspecting the curse that she carried. After analyzing the circumstances, the young man came to the conclusion that the picture with the curse was conveyed to the old man intentionally in order to harm it. Upon learning of the curse imposed on the picture, the old man in a panic demands to immediately destroy it, and Jian, without doubt, agrees to get rid of a dangerous object. The main character intervenes in a panic situation, confidently stops trying to destroy the picture, and claims that it can be saved by cleansing it from the above curse. The young man activates mystical power, turning to the spirits of the fallen warriors in order to conduct an ancient ritual of purification and remove the curse from the mysterious artifact. Cloaking the power of fallen warriors, the hero initiates the purification of the damned artifact, directing mystical energy to disperse the dark energy of the yin that fetters the object. Soo-jin activates internal power, directing the flow of spiritual energy through a point on the chest, preparing for the decisive action to cleanse the damned object. Streams of radiant energy break out of the hero's body, illuminating everything around. At the moment when he fully reveals the force to cleanse the ominous source of yin, a flash of destructive energy explodes in enchanted space, absorbing the dark power of yin and completing the purification of the ancient artifact with a bright ending. The magical seal finally collapses in the whirlwind of a cleansing flame, scattering the remains of yin energy and returning balance to a distorted space. After the destruction of the seal, the energy is scattered, and the protagonist feels with relief how the curse disappears, returning the lost peace and strength to the body. Realizing the completion of the ritual of lifting the curse, the young man assesses the situation and is preparing to eliminate the remains of dark energy in order to finally clean the space. After the successful expulsion of the curse and stabilization of energy, grateful victims expressed deep appreciation to the hero for salvation and assistance. In gratitude for the salvation of a family member, representatives of the Chen family solemnly handed Soo-jin 10 million, expressing recognition of his skill and merits. Soo-jin restrainedly abandoned a major reward, explaining that he acted exclusively out of respect for the will of his teacher and not for the sake of material benefit. The guy's refusal of a generous reward made a strong impression on those present, especially on a girl who admired his indifference to money. The elder of the Chen family insists on the remuneration of Soo-jin, fearing that the refusal can undermine their family's reputation in the eyes of society. One of the family members watches in disbelief how the father with respect and trust shares all the information with the young guest. The head of the family, trying to maintain the honor and respect of the family, invites Soo-jin to a personal conversation in the office in order to discuss important issues without outsiders. Soo-jin, who retains calm and confidence, accepts the invitation, making it clear that he is ready for a trusting and possibly delicate conversation. The eldest man with a gesture invites Soo-jin to go to the office, showing respect and desire to discuss important matters without outsiders. The door closely closes behind the enters, emphasizing the beginning of a confidential conversation and a separation from the rest of the scene. The old man kneels in front of Soo-jin in the office, expressing the deepest respect and willingness to submit to the person who saved his relatives. Winding to the ground, he pleads with his guilt, lamenting that he could not help Soo-jin's family at a difficult moment for them. Seeing how the old man suddenly falls to his knees, the main character ran up to him anxiously to support and understand the reason for such an act. With tears in his eyes, the old man admitted that he worked for many years only in order to once pay good. Realizing that he was facing the one whom he had been waiting for so long, the old man with sincere joy expressed gratitude for the return of the great man. The young man is surprised to realize that he all this time knew about his survival, despite the long absence and unknown of fate. The old man explains that after the disappearance of the young man, he received a letter from Taos with an instruction to take a billionth trust fund before he returned before his return. The old man did not fade. He always believed that the young master would once return, despite all the circumstances in past years. All these years, the manager carefully kept the Lu family shares in the safe, observing how their value is growing steadily against the backdrop of changes in the world. Now, when the time has come, he handed over the main envelope with the documents to the true owner, thereby opening access to the state of the Lu family. The protagonist refused the shares, deciding to hide his name because his goal, revenge for his parents and not gaining wealth, The old man opened an account in advance so that the young heir could freely dispose of the funds at the right time, without revealing himself. Su Zhen reports that along the way I ran into Zhou's family, who tried to intercept the doctor, and is interested in the possible causes of this act. The old man explains that the Zhou family is trading competitors, and suggests that they can be involved in the incident with the doctor. The protagonist restrainedly states that it is too early to draw any conclusions, because without specific evidence, any accusations will remain only speculation and suspicions. The old man invites Su Zheng to stop in the Manhwa hotel belonging to their family, and he accepts the proposal. With the onset of the evening, the young man says goodbye to his family and sets off, having completed the visit. He is offered to use the driver's services to facilitate movement and emphasize his new status of a respected personality. The main character politely refuses, deciding to walk on foot, because he has not walked for a long time and wants to take a little rest from formalities. The next morning, the young man wakes up at the Linhuya Hotel, where he is waiting for a new meeting, capable of influencing the further development of events. In the hotel room, Su Zhen stretches, enjoying a rare feeling of comfort and calm, morning without haste. He recalls how his harsh but caring teacher burst into the room every morning, arranging a sharp and loud awakening. Looking at the reflection in the mirror, the protagonist recalls the parents and gives himself a firm promise to brutally take revenge on their unfair death. He recalls how the Liu family once used fame, but now her executioners, standing behind this, probably occupy influential positions in society. Realizing that the key to unraveling can be hidden among the elite, he decides to go to where the famous personalities and the powers are gathering. Before you go out, he calmly changes clothes, preparing for an important meeting because the appearance also plays a significant role in the society of high standards. The hero goes to the large shopping center of Huashan, hoping that it is there that he will be able to take the first step on the path to revealing the truth. In a luxurious car dealership, a young man is met by an employee. Politely welcoming and offering help in choosing a car, he goes to the building with the HS shop, confidently passing the glass doors towards further inspection. A charming consultant with a warm smile asks which car is interested in a man, ready to demonstrate the entire assortment. The hero stops at a bright red sports car, which immediately attracts the attention of others with his stylish and powerful appearance. A group of passers, by with interest and approval, evaluates the choice of the hero. Noting his good taste and attractiveness of the car, the stranger claims that the car symbolizes the status of the owner, emphasizing the need to choose a prestigious model to maintain an image. The consultant indicates a luxurious new car for 8 million, emphasizing its exclusivity and the lack of analogs in the city. The stranger doubts that the hero will be able to buy such a car, but his companion is amazed at the insight of the buyer. Hearing that the hero agrees to sign the documents, he reacts in surprise and irritatedly to a sudden turn of events. A car dealership officer politely invites the hero to the VIP room to complete the purchase and prepare the necessary documents. A group of young people with a defiant look blocked the path to the main character, saying that the car he put his eyes on is already belonging to them. The leader of the group, confident in his superiority, warns the hero that he should leave, demonstrating a hidden threat and intention to intimidate. The protagonist remains calm and with irony invites opponents to try to convince him, showing his confidence and willingness to conflict. The angry leader of the gang, feeling a call, loses his composure and decides to apply force, accepting a call to the confrontation. Confident in his power in the city, he flashes with anger and declares that the uninvited guest will have to pay for insolence. Demonstrating determination to battle, the stranger orders to grab the hero, pointing his finger while he is accompanied by a group of aggressively tuned guys. One of the hooligans, furious behind his leader, covers the fire extinguisher, intending to brutally deal with the offender. Su Zhen, with a confident smile, watches what is happening, clearly not experiencing fear of an impending threat. In a dark forest, the student and the teacher go forward, immersed in the conversation. The purpose of their visit remains unknown. The old man reminds the student of military equipment that he taught him many years ago. The young man confidently informs his mentor that he did not lose time in vain and trained hard, hinting at his readiness to demonstrate his skills. The eldest, holding a phone in his hands, invites the student to show in practice how much he advanced in skill. The guy smiles and begins to roll up his sleeves, making it clear that he is ready for the upcoming test and perceives him as a challenge. Suddenly, the young man rushes on the attack, directing all power to the elder. The master easily raves the attack, releasing energy and reproaching the student of slowness, and he in amazement realizes his unpreparedness. During the training match, one of the participants shows excessive instability, which forces the opponent to deliver a sharp and decisive blow. Having fallen to the ground after the attack, the young student experiences severe pain and demonstrates obvious unpreparedness for the battle of this level. An interested student asks the teacher about the reception that he had just used, hoping to master this technique in the future. The protagonist enters into battle with confidence, intending to demonstrate the strength that he honed for long training. Using the accumulated knowledge and energy, he rapidly attacks the enemy with a powerful blow, demonstrating a high level of skill. The lightning stroke of the protagonist knocks the enemy off his feet, leaving him the slightest chance of resistance. The rest of the hooligans are writhes on the floor from pain, unable to stand after a rapid attack. The leader in horror is aware of the stranger's power, shocked by his power and speed. The main character looks coldly at the next enemy, making it clear that there will be no mercy. In a panic, a man tries to dissuade the striker, referring to his connection with an influential person. Tired of the chatter, Sujin, with a cold expression on his face, resolutely knocks his comrade from his feet with one blow, demonstrating strength and confidence. Having lost his balance, the enemy screams back and falls into the fountain, attracting general attention and creating chaos in the room. At this time, the employee politely reports on the readiness of the car, but is abruptly interrupted, noticing the mess and scene with the participation of the client. A humble and wet, knocked down the leader lies on the floor, crumpled and trembling with pain. Keeping calm and confidence, the protagonist thanks the employee and asks to restore order, as if what happened is commonplace. The employee receives an important assignment from the hero, and with a clear excitement agrees to complete the task. She looks at the sports car, which is rapidly taken away, leaving her to be at a loss at the entrance to the building. Three friends help each other. One of them barely holds on their feet, while the rest are concerned about to understand what happened to him. One of them, indignant and decisive, requires immediately returning and report to what happened to his superiors, expressing readiness for action. Sujin, at the wheel of a red car, confidently rushes in the night, lit by the moon, heading for an unknown but clearly important goal. A luxurious sports car stops in front of a modern building, emphasizing the status and confidence of the arrived guy. Girls notice a newly arrived young man and admire his appearance and a rare model of the car, discussing him with admiration. Sujin enters an elite institution, passing by soft sofas, confidently heading for his place. In the club atmosphere, two girls with glasses approach him, hoping to attract attention and invite to join their company. He, slightly grinning, politely refuses them, demonstrating indifference to attention and maintaining his cold distance. The young man spends time with two girls in the club, but retains indifference despite their flirting and attempts to lure him in an entertaining conversation. He resolutely repels the girls, saying that he is not interested, and invites them to find someone else for the company. Offended by the refusal, the girls leave, discussing his behavior and ridiculing him as a boring and unromantic provincial. The club suddenly begins noise and turmoil, against the background of which the guy's attention switches to what is happening nearby. A girl with pink hair becomes an object of harassment on the part of the stranger, resists and demands to leave her alone. Seeing Yushi in an unexpected place, the hero cannot believe his eyes and instantly strains, suspecting that something was going wrong. Juan, taking advantage of his power, sticks to the girl, promising wealth, and she in fear demands to leave her alone, attracting the attention of others. Suddenly, a young man appears and, with a decisive expression on his face, demands to stop harassment from Juan and retreat. Outraged by the intervention, Juan aggressively reacts to the hero, considering this a violation of his rights and undermining his authority. Those present in the hall are amazed, because everyone knows that Juan is associated with a powerful organization, and a quarrel with it is fraught with serious consequences. Juan, with neglect, challenges Su Jung, sarcastically accusing him of trying to play the hero in front of the lady. Juan orders the guy to kneel and bow, threatening the reprisal if he dares to disobey. Sujin interrupting the skirmish and demonstrating power, enough Juan by the hand. Juan screams with pain, holding on to the injured hand, in shock from an unexpected attack. Witnesses in a panic react in surprise, accusing the unknown of insolence to harm the influential Juan. A confident hero gives Juan 10 seconds so that he disappears, clearly making it clear who is the main one here. He threatens that otherwise it will lose much more than just a hand. A jump in a panic runs away with protection, but throws a defiant phrase, urging not to run away if there is courage. Sujin smiles calmly and declares that he will not go anywhere, urging the enemy to hurry up with his actions. The girl looks at him in surprise, trying to remember where she had already met this mysterious person. She warns the young man that he insulted the sign of the dragon sign and advises him to leave until his members return to avoid trouble. The guy is concerned about her safety, asks about her further actions, but she hesitates and does not know what to do next. An angry man bursts into the room and shouts at a girl named Yushi with a reproach, accusing her of insolence. He accuses her of insulting Huan and supposedly intentionally wants to harm his reputation. Despite the fact that she had just begun to work, the girl in despair falls to her knees, begging the manager to forgive her and give her another chance to rectify the situation. The manager puts the girl in a humiliating position, offering her to please another man in order to maintain work. Suddenly, Soo-jin appears and strikes the offender, interrupting what is happening. He resolutely leads the girl, believing that she has no place among such people. But she is confused. A new character appears, a member of the criminal organization, outraged by the attack on his subordinate. He is surprised to wonder how someone dared to hit his man, not even knowing who he was. The appearance of Mr. Hu causes excitement among passers-by because he became a master of martial arts, and everyone is sure that the enemy will not stand the fight. The main character, having heard about Mr. Hu, calmly offers to solve everything at once, showing confidence and lack of fear of the threat. HU people, having taken it as a challenge, screaming themselves on the attack, hoping to punish the daring stranger for his courage, the hero, without losing his self-control, reflects attackers in one powerful movement, demonstrating his strength and military abilities. Opponents are unconscious on the floor, not having time to deliver a single blow, completely crushed by the hero's lightning response. The eldest man is surprised to realize that the young man has the level of martial arts comparable to his own, which explains his confidence. The young warrior calmly confirms his abilities, demonstrating complete calm and control over the situation. The opponent warns about the difference in strength even at the same level of skill and begins to release energy, preparing for the attack. Its powerful aura takes the shape of a furious beast, emphasizing the power of the upcoming blow. With rage and fire in his hands, he rushes into the attack, decisively intending to crush the young opponent with his reception. A powerful explosion envelops the hero's figure, creating the illusion of his complete destruction in a dazzling outbreak of light and flame. Svita enthusiastically admires the power of Mr. Ho. Confident that after such a destructive blow the enemy will not survive, Hu suddenly notices the lack of a body, and in a panic tells the rest that the goal has disappeared. The leader, with a wary expression on the face, examines the room, suspecting something wrong and feeling the approach of the threat. Suddenly, an adversary appears from behind, unharmed and calm, shocking everyone with his unexpected return. Realizing the impending danger, the enemy sharply strains, anticipating a blow capable of turning the stroke of the duel. The sudden and powerful movement of Soo-jin easily sends the attacker to fly. Demonstrating superiority in speed and strength, the enemy lands on his knees, dumbfounded, and his breath, realizing that he had underestimated the power of the stranger. He collects the will into a fist, deciding that the battle is not over yet, and with rage is rushing into a counterattack, hoping to turn the situation. Ignoring the warning, a man with a stern look and flashes of energy on the body rushes forward, full of determination to complete the fight. Standing on the balcony, an influential man with a cold gaze doubts the abilities of a Hu, showing that the situation is beyond the usual conflict. One of those present, with surprise, recognizes the Yuchen, the king of the dragons standing in front of them, whose authority causes real thrill. Another witness is shocked by the appearance of such a powerful figure, realizing that the day had turned into an incredible turn of events. All those present are suddenly inclined in reverence, loudly recognizing their submission to the king of the dragons, emphasizing his absolute power. Yuchen, the Dragon King and the head of the Society of the Dragon, amazes everyone present by his sudden and authoritative appearance. One of the members of the society accuses the guy of provoking unrest and harm to their allies, representing him as a threat to the leader. Yuchen, the king of the Society of the Dragon, is surprised at the courage of Yuchen, realizing that he had challenged their authority in front of everyone. Soo-jin confidently states that it was the subordinates of the moon that began the conflict, offering to settle the situation with the world if the comrade is ready for dialogue. Seeing the unwillingness of the moon to conduct a constructive conversation, the young man hints that negotiations are meaningless if the leader acts the same way as his people. Soo-jin moved his hand slightly, straightening the dragon's shape, maintaining calmness in the face of increasing tension in the hall. Yucheng notices a chain of dragon bones on the guy's hand, causing shock and awe. Seeing the artifact, the man orders immediately to accompany the owner of the chain to his personal account to clarify the circumstances. Spectators suggest that the lord with a gloomy face intends to personally deal with a daring stranger. One of the guards demands that the hero immediately and without resistance follow him on the orders of the boss. Despite the warning of mortal danger, the hero remains calm, claiming that no one is able to harm him. The girl in a panic is trying to stop the young man, concerned about his words and the upcoming dangerous meeting with the powerful Lu. The guy with a decisive expression on his face calmly declares his desire to test the strength of the King of the Dragons in the upcoming confrontation. Yushi worries about his safety, watching how he enters the elevator along with the protection, heading for the place of an important meeting. The subordinate respectfully reports Lu about the arrival of the guest, seeing him off to the spacious and lit office. A young man with cold determination demands to get down to business, showing his confidence and readiness for a decisive conversation. One of the subordinates with insolence thinks about the hero, not knowing who is in front of him, believing that he is saying with an ordinary person. Suddenly, the King of the Dragons, having learned the personality of the young man, falls on one knee as a sign of deep respect, causing shock to those present. Surprised and bewildered, Hu does not understand what is happening. Not expecting such humiliation from his boss, the young gentleman in bewilderment asks why the head of the organization demonstrates such devotion, emphasizing the contrast in status. Lun, in a panic, admits that he did not recognize him immediately and now humbly asks for forgiveness for the previously shown disrespect. The subordinate expressed doubt about the right of the young owner to the title, pointing to his young look. Lu, with a decisive expression on his face, having learned by a chain from the dragon bones the personality of a stranger, protects the honor of a young master. Sujin raises his hand with a calm look, showing a chain from dragon bones, as if confirming his involvement in a mysterious story. The young man confirms his involvement in the dragon chain, and the senior mentor, realizing the mistake, apologizes. Lu, on his knees, asks the young master to give him a second chance. The young man, not understanding what is happening, thinks in surprise, believing that this bracelet was made of scraps to repair the furnace. He decides to find out what is happening and requires explanation, with irritation awaiting clarification of the situation. The King of the Society of the Dragon, understanding the importance of the explanation, invites the young master to sit down and promises to tell the details. He begins to explain that the Association of the Dragon Sign was founded 20 years ago and has an influence on the underground world and the legal business. The young gentleman, not knowing anything about this, expresses doubt and asks why he was never told about the connection with the Lu family. The Dragon King explains that according to customs, information about these matters should be reported only after the heir to adulthood is reached. He adds that at the Festival of Adulthood, before all this became known, the Lu family has already survived the disaster. Then the mentor recalls how his father noticed a threat and urgently sent him with people to help, warning of a possible trouble. He continues the story that when he finally arrived with people, it was already too late, and the whole family of Lu died at the hands of the killers. The young man, absorbed in a heavy thought, says that he is guilty of the death of Father Yucheng. The Dragon King assures the young man that there was no guilt in death, claiming that the head of the Lu family always took care of them and their duty. It is to serve the Lu family. He continues to tell how all these years he was silent and worked, hoping that when the young master would return, he would become a support for the Lu family. The king devotedly kneels in front of the young master, convincing him that his return would bring the salvation of the association and make it invincible. Sujin asks what actually happened and what answers they found after so many years of investigation. The king reveals that all these years secretly instructed people to investigate, trying to reveal the hidden circumstances of the tragedy. The young master is transmitted to the envelope, which contains all the information that he must study in order to understand what is happening. Sujin accepts the envelope and silently agrees with what is happening, showing the determination to understand matters. The Dragon King, noticing that the young master is ready to act, asks the question of his further actions, waiting for instructions. The young man restrainedly replies that he is in no hurry, since he just began his way to this world and so far cannot reveal his personality. The king and his assistant understand the importance of silence, decisively swearing to keep all the secrets and not disclose the information. The young man notices that the moon has a pale face and signs of fatigue, and suggests that he encountered stagnation in his skill. Lun confirms his guess, admitting that since the level of martial arts, He could not achieve any progress. The guy offers a solution, a medicine on his own prescription, which will help to overcome the internal blocks and achieve a breakthrough in a week. In gratitude for the help and care of Lun with sincere respect, he accepts the recipe from the hands of a young man. After presenting the recipe, the young man claps his shoulder, hinting that he has another request or an important addition. The main character asks to provide complete information about the girl present on the spot. Demonstrating his interest and seriousness of intentions, he instructs to figure out a man who touched the girl, clearly hinting that the punishment should be immediate and tough. After transferring orders, he leaves, and men respect him with respect, emphasizing the high status and influence of the young man. Outside the room, the crowd notices his approach, clearly worried and wary that the inevitable reckoning is approaching. Witnesses begin to discuss the fate of the perpetrator, anticipating the harsh reprisal for the audacity against who bears the name of the dragon. The unexpected calm of the guy is dumbfounded by men who obviously did not expect to see him on their feet after a recent situation. The girl rushes towards him, worried about his safety and hoping that everything is in order with him after what happened. Sujin assures her that everything went calmly and no one was harmful to him. That he calms her slightly. Shishi, from an unexpected impulse, accidentally touches his chest, suddenly realizing his excessive intimacy. Confused by her reaction, she retreats and apologizes, explaining that she was just too excited about what was happening. A surprised guy cannot believe that the stranger survived the anger of the King of the Dragons, from whom no one had remained unharmed before. His attempt to dominate ends with a rigid blow from Mr. Hu, who abruptly interrupts his speech. The defeated departs to the floor, and Huan with contempt states that the Dragon King will not tolerate such exits. The injured, stunned, and trembling with fear does not have time to recover, as he receives the order to be remote security. Mr. Huan announces a guest by a guest of the dragon sign and warns that any harm will lead to him the same fate as the previous impudent. Shishi, returning home with Su, notes that the guy looked very menacing, recalling his behavior in a recent situation. She is surprised to ask how he managed to earn the respect of even such a cruel person as the King of Dragons. The guy in response, with a sly smile, tells how he got contact with the leader, quickly placing him with jokes and friendliness. The girl laughs at his words, calling him a deceiver, and obviously does not perceive the story seriously, enjoying the moment. Then she is suddenly interested in his name, to which he, having thought a little, represents himself like Lu. But having realized, Su Zhen calls himself, as he hides his real person in order to protect Shishi from a possible threat caused by the disclosure of his secret. The girl sincerely thanks the SU for the help and support, expressing his appreciation for today. The young man politely replies that there is no gratitude, completing their short but significant meeting on the street. Shush looks at the phone and notices that it has already become too late, which causes her anxious anxiety. Understanding that the time later, the girl hurries to say goodbye to Sujanem and goes home with a slight smile on her face. She cheerfully says goodbye, disappearing around the corner, leaving the guy alone on the night city street. The young man remains in place, smiling quietly after, as if realizing something or confirming for himself. The sudden vibration of the phone in his pocket violates the silence, returning it to reality. He takes out the phone and sees the received message with information about the girl he had just conducted. According to the dossier, Yushi Shi, a 22-year-old girl with a tragic past, her mother is seriously ill and is in the city hospital. Upon learning that the director of the central hospital is the old Van, the hero understands that he can use this acquaintance to solve an important issue. The next day, important events associated with the condition of one of the patients will soon unfold in the central hospital. In the ward, the girl tells her mother that the money for the operation is almost collected, and soon they will be able to operate on it. Mother is upset, feeling guilty for becoming a burden, but her daughter sincerely supports her, convincing her in the opposite. The medical staff bursts into the hospital, concerned about the patient's condition in the 17th bunk, which hints at the impending crisis. The doctor, covered by anger, reproaches the patient for repeated non-payment and demands to immediately leave the hospital in the absence of money. The girl desperately begs the doctor to give her 3 more days to pay for treatment, promising to return the debt. The doctor, with irritation, recalls that she has repeatedly asked for a delay and expresses doubt in her words. Having lost patience, he orders to take a bed from the patient and throw away all her things. The hospital staff, without asking questions, receives an order and goes to the bed to fulfill the order. She begs doctors to give a little time, but the staff rudely declares that it is impossible to treat without money and orders to wait for death at home. An elderly man, probably the head doctor, abruptly interferes with the situation, condemning what is happening. Seeing what is happening, he with anger reproaches his subordinate for a rude attitude towards patients. The doctor justifies himself, saying that he was thinking about the hospital, referring to patient debts for medical expenses. The head physician of Rage accuses him of the absence of medical ethics and immediately dismisses. The dumbfounded doctor suddenly realizes that he has made a serious mistake, and a shock befell him, like a thunder in the middle of a clear sky. He in a panic rushes to his knees in front of the main one, begging for forgiveness and asking him to give him another chance to correct the deed. The head physician coldly and unemotional orders to take the employee who violated the order, not succumbing to pleas and excuses. The guard silently and implicitly fulfills the order, approaching the doctor, preparing to escort him outside the institution. Desperate, the man resists, shouting that he cannot lose his job due to many years of mortgage debt, covered by fear for the future. The doctor meets Lee Hoonmei and confirms her personality, preparing to discuss the upcoming medical procedure and further actions. He reports that he has already familiarized himself with her condition, and that after the examination, the operation will be able to carry out the operation today after dinner. Van gives her a document for familiarization and signatures confirming the consent to the operation and all related conditions. Lee Hoonmei anxiously notices the indicated amount of 30,000 and does not understand where they may have such money. The doctor reassures her, saying that all financial issues have already been settled, and after the operation she will be transferred to the high comfort ward. The girl is amazed to hear that a certain Master Su, whom she saw only once, is responsible for what was happening in the hospital. The head doctor reports that her mother can relax, and if necessary, he is always ready to answer any questions. She thanks the head physician Van for care and support, bowing to him as a sign of respect and gratitude. Her mother in confusion asks who the Master of Su is, because in their family there is no one with this surname. The girl, bewildered, suggests that the Master of Su, perhaps her friend, although she herself is not fully sure of this. Mom insists that now Shusher is obliged to express gratitude to him as a great benefactor. The girl suspects that Su-Jen could be this person, with whom she had only one meeting, and is surprised at his desire to help. She regrets that she did not even leave the phone number in a hurry, and she wonders if she will be able to meet him in huge Yuzhen again. The night city is shrouded in calm. Flowers bloom over the house of Chen. Interesting events unfold in this house. Su-Jin is preparing for the last acupuncture session for an elderly patient. While his son is interested in the well-being of his father, an elderly man feels much younger after treatment and expresses gratitude to Mr. Su for the help provided, noting her amazing effect. The young man reports that he booked a table for an evening at Linhuya Hotel, inviting a comrade to join. Near the hotel, they notice the elder of the Chen family, who is imported into the room where he is met with respect. Having met the elder, everyone bowed and showed him honors, while the young people indicated that his stay would be free. The elder of the Chen family, thanking everyone for honors, turns to Mr. Su with a request to go into the room, doing it politely and with respect. The man who watched the elder thinks that if he so respects Mr. Su, he is clearly not a simple person. The elder of the family smiles and assures that the dinner served is just a simple food. Do not perceive it too seriously. Su-Jin jokes that for him it is not just food, but a real festival of taste, comparing it with what he saw on cremation. The son of the elder enjoys the meal and, despite his ease, is attentive to what is happening around. During dinner, he receives a call. Looking in surprise at the phone, he decides to answer, not being distracted from food. The man answers the phone call. His face reflects determination. Despite the seriousness of the situation, he begins a conversation with his father, hinting at the topic of the company. But the elder interrupts him, saying that today they will not discuss business. Su-Jen, a little concerned, continues to discuss the situation with his father, indicating that the elder Chen should not perceive dinner so seriously. The elder, despite all the circumstances, agrees to continue the conversation. His gaze becomes more concentrated. The man explains that the pharmaceutical company Chen is faced with pressure from Zhou Corporation, including due to the closure of their last branch. The granddaughter, outraged by the actions of the Zhou Corporation, believes that their attempt to monopolize the pharmaceutical market Yuchen is already too much. Su-Jin is stunned, learning that this is the powerful family of Zhou, and everything that happens begins to gain special significance. He recalls that Zhou is often mentioned in the materials that the moon sent to him, and which leads him to the idea of this family. Discussing the family history, The young man suggests that the Zhou family could be once connected with the little subsidiary of Lu. The elder Chen confirms the words, telling how Zhou bought the pharmaceutical production of Lu after the tragedy in the family, as a result of which they captured the market and rich. The young man, thinking, understands that the situation is related to some important event from the past, which is now coming to the fore. Having decided to figure it out, he asks if it is possible to get acquainted with the formula of the main medicine of the company that interested him. The son of the elder, trying to preserve a commercial secret, explains that he cannot transmit this information, since she is strictly confidential. Elder Chen, angry with a restless comrade, sharply calls him a fool who does not understand the whole importance of the situation. In turn, the elder convinces that Mr. Su, who saved his life, will not dwell on such trifles as the formula, and demands to convey it immediately. The man sent Su file with a formula, and the guy thanked it, while both remained calm and polite, continuing to work in the room. The granddaughter, watching the situation, notes that despite the confidence of the older man in his medical skills, the treatment formula looks complicated and requires attention. Sujin completes his work and, smiling, confidently reports that everything is ready, satisfying the requirements and expectations of those who expected his help. The guy sends the elder Chen an improved formula, offering a chance to save the factory if production is organized according to this version of the medicine. The girl, surprised that Sujin improved the medicine that they worked for 5 years, wonders how he managed to do this in 1 minute. The elder, with great enthusiasm, reacts to the news, is clearly pleasantly surprised by what he hears. The evening went after toasts and thanks. The elder raises the glass by Su, confirming the sincerity of his recognition and respect. At this time, the phone on the table begins to vibrate, clearly something important and urgent for Su. The guy notices that his phone vibrates and begins to check the notification with the letter without hiding surprise. Came up in front of the screen with a message from the moon, and Su remains in thought, looking at what was written, realizing that he was waiting for a new turn of events. The guy is surprised to learn about Villa Yundan, a place with the most powerful energy in Yuzhen, and begins to ask questions about his significance. Sujin politely says goodbye to Chen, saying that time is already later and he should go, while promising help if necessary. The granddaughter recommends the elder Chen to consult with experts in the formula written by Su Jin to make sure of her safety. The elder, confident in the correctness of the decision, rejects the proposal and decides to simply launch production without additional consultations. His son expresses concern, advising to be careful, since the medicine is associated with Chen's family, and possible risks should be taken into account. The elder explains that Su Zhen is a man who can be trusted, and they will soon find out why this is so. Linhua Hotel Lobby, a place with a special atmosphere, creating the impression of comfort and luxury. One of the guys notes that his boss is familiar with the hotel manager and asks if this is really so. The boss replies that his cousin manager, emphasizing that it would be impossible to book a table without such connections. Yushi comes to the sample, and she is met with due attention and respect at the reception. One of the guys recalls the school hobby of an older brother, but he is outraged, believing that flirting cannot be equated with true love. The leader decides to prove himself, admitting that he was previously superficial, and is preparing to surprise everyone with his charisma. With complete confidence, he announces that he will teach others a real lesson in seduction, causing admiration for his comrades. A man enthusiastically approaches a girl with pink hair, learning in her the famous beauty of the older group Yushi. He is surprised at her current work as a waitress at the hotel, hinting at the fall of her status. But she calves coldly, putting him in place. A man with a smug smile offers the girl to spend the night with him in exchange for promotion through the career ladder, hinting at the hotel in touch. The girl, in response to his obscene proposal, requires restraint from him, demonstrating her indignation and moral principles. Two observers in suits with a grin noted that an attempt to seduce failed, sarcastically commenting on the situation. A man, irritated by their words, shouts at them with rage, without hiding his disappointment and anger. Having lost his composure, he grossly grabs his hand, accusing her of hypocrisy because of her poverty, while she demands that he let her go. Sujin leaves the elevator, radiating confidence and preparing to intervene in what is happening on the other end of the corridor. He notices a tense situation in the lobby, where a man rudely pesters a girl, shouting loudly into her trail. A man threatens the girl, offering a luxurious life in exchange for consent. Otherwise, he is ready to use force. With a contemptuous smile, he admits to his behavior and provokes the girl, expecting that she would not dare to confront him. The hero began to defend a helpless lady. He, with a decisive look, reminded the enemy of the last lesson, hinting that he had come to put him in place again. The girl in amazement recognizes the arrived young man and wonders what he is doing in this place. The angry opponent accuses the hero that he took the car from him, and now the girl, considering it a personal hostility. The hero remains cold-blooded and threatens to repeat the lesson if his opponent does not flow. A frightened man trying to escape mentions that his cousin is a hotel manager and threatens the consequences for any action. Su-Jen with confidence allows you to start a performance, hinting at his readiness for future events and demonstrating control over the situation. A man in a tuxedo rushes into the hall, worried about the noise, trying to find out the cause of the mess and restore order. The silver-haired man is happy to meet the arrived, hoping for his help in the current situation and perceiving him as the savior. He points to a young man, accusing him of violating order and urging him to immediately drive him out of the territory, considering him a violator. However, a man in a tuxedo recognizes in a young man a powerful and respected Mr. Su, which causes him shock and radically changes the situation. A suspicious man with arrogance causes guard, trying to put himself right in a conflict situation. The manager orders to expel the offender. He cannot believe what is happening in confusion. The man is in a panic. He is grabbed and dragged. He is trying to appeal to the fraternal bonds, but in vain. The manager apologizes to an important person, recognizing his mistake, and he calmly replies that he does not hold evil. Shishi perplexed who Su-Jin is. Even if the manager Linhua shows such respect for him, the girl reflects on a guy who, as if she had already seen somewhere, and tries to remember who he looks like. Lost in his thoughts, Su asks, worried if everything is in order. Noting that the girl looks strange and she tries to remain calm, she feels a strong dizziness, loses her balance, her body becomes weak, and the world around us begins to blur. When the girl begins to fall, the guy manages to grab her by the waist, preventing her from falling to the floor and softening her fall. She loses consciousness in his arms, and he looks at her with concern, trying to understand what happened to her. The young man, having checked the girl's pulse, determines that her condition is caused by overwork, which entailed the exhaustion of vital energy. The hotel worker is alarmed to call an ambulance. Concerned about the state of the girl, Su refuses medical care, asking to provide the nearest number to independently help the girl. Having moved the girl to the room, he apologizes for possible inconvenience, preparing to help her. The young man folds his fingers in a special gesture, activating a certain mystical flame, hinting at the use of a supernatural treatment. Streams of energy are suddenly activated inside it, accompanied by flashes of light and sparks. Waking up, she can hardly come to her senses and, still in confusion, cannot understand what happened to her. Su explains to her that she lost consciousness due to exhaustion and lack of energy, but he helped and now nothing threatens her. She apologizes for anxiety, experiencing guilt for what happened and hoping that he will no longer create problems. The young man with a slight smile calms her, asking if she had such attacks before. The girl says that sometimes she feels dizziness, but for the first time she lost consciousness, which causes her concern her condition. The hero, concerned about her well-being, clarifies the presence of other symptoms, such as insomnia, cold in the limbs, and pain in the lower abdomen. She confirms the presence of such symptoms and says that she has contacted a doctor, but a medical examination has not revealed any problems. The young man concludes that the problem lies in the features of her body and will take a suitable time for a deeper examination. She thanks him for his help, to which he replies that it was a trifling affair that did not require special gratitude. She thanks the guy for having paid for the operation for her mother, so that she was successfully restored. The guy is surprised that she found out about this, and is angry with Van's doctor for talkativeness because he asked to keep it a secret. She explains that Van did not name the name, but mentioned Mr. Su, and she herself guessed who helped. Shy with trepidation admits that he again saved her, and she does not know how to express gratitude. Su with a smile replies that instead of words of gratitude, he will have enough invitation to dinner when she gets better. The girl nods with understanding, expressing readiness for the next step. She offers Su Jiang to exchange contacts so that if necessary, it is possible to easily contact each other. Su Jian accepts the proposal, and they exchange phones, showing mutual trust and the beginning of friendship. The young man in surprise asks the girl about the reason for her hasty care, watching her with easy confusion. The girl explains that she has a sampling soon, but promises to pamper him with something tasty, showing care and gratitude. She leaves. Behind her, with a slight sound, the door slams, emphasizing the end of the conversation and her determination to leave this place. The young man receives a call from which he finds out that his comrade had already arrived at the hotel and immediately agrees with the information received. Villa Yunden is a secluded and picturesque place among the mountains, where men soon arrive in order to continue the discussion in a calm atmosphere. At the villa, the Dragon King is respectfully interested in the opinion of the young gentleman about the place in which he was. Offering to evaluate the work done, the hero notes that the interior is exquisite. The energy is rich and expresses gratitude for efforts, recognizing the quality of the completed training. Having received praise for an assignment, the man responded with respect that he only fulfilled his duties, without giving the significance of his role. Having studied the materials received, Su concludes that the Zhou family is involved in past events and decides to establish contact with them through a new company. His assistant assures that the members of the underground bank are ready to allocate enough funds for the implementation of the plan, and even more. Su believes that for a start, there will be sufficiently limited resources, comparing excessive power with the hammer used to kill the fly. Surprised by the scale of the plan, the acquaintance asks the question of how the guy is going to act in this situation. A young man with a confident smile reports that later everything will become clear and offers help if necessary, making it clear that everything is under control. In the villa of Chen's family, a girl with blue hair bursts into the room, shining with joy, in order to urgently report important and positive news to her grandfather. The old man asks for surprise what happened, concerned about the sudden appearance of his granddaughter and her rush. Running into the office, the girl enthusiastically reports that their new medicine enjoys a frantic success and instantly diverges among buyers. She reads the financial report. Thanks to the formula Su Zhenya, the company's sales grew sharply, causing her pride and surprise. In a short time, the company has achieved success, returning the lost market and losing to itself many previous competitors. Hearing a report on the results achieved, an elderly man is delighted and sincerely rejoices in the success of the team. He orders to prepare the car in order to personally express his gratitude to Mr. Su for the assistance and support provided. The car with a roar breaks off, heading for his destination in order to deliver a man to a person who has earned recognition. A girl with blue hair notices an outgoing old man and turns to him with excitement, wanting to say something important. She is amazed at the luxury of the complex and cannot believe that Su-Zhen really lives in such a prestigious place. The old man reproaches the girl, explaining that Su-Zhen is uniform and deserves respect regardless of appearance. At the entrance to the building, they are met by Su. Surprised by the unexpected visit of Chen and his companion, Chen explains that he came to personally express gratitude for the assistance provided. He reports that thanks to the help of a young man, the pharmaceutical business of his corporation was saved from inevitable collapse. The eldest man gratefully tells the young hero that he saved the pharmaceutical business of Chen Corporation from imminent collapse. Sitting in a luxurious living room, the Chen family, expressing gratitude, proposes to give half the profit from the sale of medicines in gratitude for the assistance. The protagonist refuses profit, believing that for the business of the Chen family at the growth stage, this will be a disadvantageous step. An elderly man insists on gratitude, claiming that without the help of the hero they would not have coped. And not to thank you means losing their mental peace. The hero offers a compromise. He provides technologies and recipes, the Chen investment family to create a new company together with an equal section of profit. The old man happily agrees to partnership, considering this a huge success, but still doubts that 50-50, this is a fair ratio. In a spacious living room, a man offers a partner a deal with an unequal distribution of shares of 80% in his favor. The granddaughter is surprised to realize that the proposed distribution will lead the Chen family to losses, causing internal conflict and anxiety. Su, without changing the decision, says that the business should remain as it is, and unexpectedly proposes to appoint Miss Chen head of the new company. The surprised girl is struck by a sudden decision and cannot believe that it is she who trusts such a high position. The old man expresses doubt and confusion, believing that, despite the girl's experience, such a responsible role may be too serious for her. The young man with confidence declares confidence in Miss Chen, sitting in a luxurious atmosphere, demonstrating calmness and internal confidence in her abilities. He transfers Miss Chen a recipe for the unique Izzy pill, offering to make it the first product of the new company and lay the foundation for future success. The girl carefully studies the recipe, surprised at the rare combination of ingredients that no one had dared to combine in one composition. The hero explains the importance of the Easy pill, emphasizing its potential to strengthen the body and restore energy, especially for heavy patients. During meditation, he feels a powerful surge of energy from the environment. Realizing that it is on the threshold of the next level of hardening stage, the young man receives an incoming call from a girl named Yushi, who wants to contact him on an important matter. He picks up the phone and answers with interest, demonstrating readiness for conversation and calm. Yushi reports that she has prepared food and wants to bring it. Clarifying whether it is convenient for him to accept it now, Sue agrees and promises to send her an address, confirming his interest. The girl rejoices his agreement and promises to meet with a smile. She is surprised to realize that a man lives in a luxurious area and doubts whether she is imposed on his visit. The young man meets her at the gate with an open embrace, inviting her to go inside, as if anticipating their meeting. Inside the elegant house, he apologizes for the inconvenience caused by her long road. Trying to show his respect and care, she gratefully recalls his repeated help, believing that it is she who should express gratitude. Not knowing his tastes, she modestly brings simple home dishes, hoping that he will appreciate her efforts and sincerity. Shisha shyly smiles and watches with excitement a reaction, hoping that she has been prepared for the dish. The young man comfortably settled on the couch, takes food with sticks, and is going to try the proposed treat. Having bitten a piece, he draws restrainedly, but the expression on his face gives out that the dish is really to his taste and gives pleasure. Hearing the praise, the girl shines with happiness and joy. Her eyes light up because the efforts were not in vain and the food came to his liking. Inspired by a pleasant atmosphere, the guy suddenly recalls his request and turns to a girl with a serious but friendly look. The pink-haired girl sincerely offers her help, expressing his readiness to support him in any situation where he can be useful. Sue demonstrates a new medicine, assuring that it strengthens health and helps with fatigue, inviting the girl to test it because of her weakness. The girl, without hesitation, immediately opens a jar and is preparing to take the medicine, wanting to help and justify trust. The young man, a little embarrassed, notes that taking the drug is not necessary right now and it will be enough to take it before bedtime. Realizing her haste, the girl apologizes that she reacted too quickly, showing excessive initiative. A young man with a slight smile explains that the medicine needs to be drunk before bedtime. Otherwise, the effect will cause drowsiness during the day. She suddenly notices time on the phone and realizes that it is time to return. Surprised how quickly time flew, the guy offers to conduct her, showing his respect and care, rising with the intention of accompanying her. Approaching the exit, the girl notices a car that has arrived and says goodbye, promising to see the next time. In parting, she confidently steps to the car, and her steps are as if accompanied by magic light, emphasizing its peculiarity. The guy suddenly feels strange energy in his hand and is amazed to realize that he had awakened the true key, which changed the course of his fate. Having awakened a hidden force after taking a mysterious drug, Sure gets into the car, preparing for events that its usual reality is turned upside down.